afternoon, everybody. Hey, what's happening? Friday, August 22nd, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Obviously, the big news that everybody is talking about is the John Bolton raid. I'm excited about it. I like it. I like it a lot. I really dislike John Bolton a lot. Knowing that John Bolton was busy today leads me to believe that there was one less third world village that got bombed. So we're going to go over all of that, all of the information we know about it so far, what exactly he was raided for, and why, what repercussions he could face, the whole 9 yards. Also, the European Union has decided to drop its retaliatory tariffs on the United States, as did Canada. Which is huge. As we now see, the Dow Jones is booming, up nearly 2 points, up nearly 2 percentage points today. A huge boom, up nearly 1,000 points. Giddy up, let's go with the S&P 500 being up 1.5 and the NASDAQ over 2 with the Russell 2000 hitting 4%. Giddy up, let's go. I'm liking that a lot. Let's go. Market's booming. Don't be a panicking. If you sold all your stock, we told you not to do that. But some people just can't stop themselves. But let's dive right on in. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. If you've got everything for the merch store that you already want, click that donate button at the very top. We really, really do appreciate it. $5, $10 a month, whatever you guys can afford to help keep the movement going strong. Giddy up. Let's go. So let's dive right on in. John Bolton, baby. In the wee hours of the morning today, we learned that the FBI executed an early morning raid on John Bolton's house. That was some wild stuff this morning.
The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president. So is this picking up where that left off, David?
It's possible. I don't know with 100% certainty, but it is notable, guys, that John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton's security clearances were stripped earlier this year by President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, took that security clearance away. They had concerns. The administration had concerns about Ambassador Bolton still being able to access some of these documents and have some of those security clearances. It's also notable that John Bolton had a security detail as well. Because of the threats from Iran on his life, that security detail, that government federal paid security detail, was also taken away by President Trump.
To be honest with you, I don't really understand why when people leave the job they're in, they keep their security clearance. That never really seemed to make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. If you leave your job, you have to give the key back. That never really made a whole hell of a lot of sense to me, but it's probably just so John Bolton can keep communicating with all of his little friends, people like Andy McCabe, who were very, 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 very okay. What the hell's on my hand? People that were very okay with the raid on Mar-a-Lago, now suddenly very, very upset on the raid on John Bolton's house. And a lot of this comes down to classified documents. Did John Bolton keep documents that he should not have had once he lost his security clearance? It would seem as though he did. Here was Andy McCabe then, and then we'll show you Andy McCabe now. I got a feeling you'll be able to sense a slight difference.
Can't overemphasize to you, John, how big of a deal this would have been within the Department of Justice and the FBI. This is not, a couple of agents showing up at some judge's door in the middle of the night to get an emergency warrant. This is something that would have been planned out and reevaluated and legally examined from every possible angle by the entirety of the leadership structure of both organizations. So let's remember that to get a search warrant in any case, whether it's you or I or the former president, you have to go before a federal judge and convince that judge that there is probable cause to believe both that a federal crime has been committed and that evidence of that crime is is contained within the space you have described in your warrant request. So we have, in this situation, a federal judge who made that determination, giving the agents authority to enter that premises and search every part of the premises that might contain the items that are specifically described in the warrant.
I have absolutely no doubt that Mr. Bolton will have very good counsel, and they will attack this in a full-throated and complete way, as they should, right? So we know that Mr. Bolton has said critical things about the president. That's not illegal. That's not a crime. That's pretty squarely within your First Amendment right in this country. And in fact, you shouldn't be. You're not supposed to be. The Department of Justice and the FBI have all kinds of policies absolutely prohibiting investigating people for the exercise of their First Amendment rights. And so if that's what's going on here, and there's all kinds of reasons to believe that that might be the true motivation. We know that the president is embarked on a pretty extensive effort to go after his perceived enemies, to,
he said he was running on retribution. Yeah.
That's right. I am your retribution. That's what he told his supporters. So there's all kinds of reasons, I think, to look at this with a jaundiced eye and to be aware of the fact that there is more than just the probable cause articulated in this search warrant. There is this very fraught relationship between the two, and the president's history of going after people using the levers of power that he has access to, particularly the Department of Justice, to go after people he doesn't like.
It turns out old Andy McCabe singing a little bit of a different tune when it's one of his people. But when it was President Trump, the FBI went through a thorough investigation. The FBI did everything by the book. And here, it's just political retribution, which is kind of part and parcel for the American left these days. They did it with the economy. Before, when prices went up, it was corporate greed when it was Joe Biden in office. Now that it's Donald Trump in office, they claim prices are going up and it's Trump's fault. So it's really about just who is in office. Obviously, Andy McCabe changes his tune has changed quite a little bit since then. And John Bolton could be in for some real trouble, according to Jonathan Turley over on Fox News.
It is intriguing here because these are long-standing allegations that the book indicated or referenced classified material that he may have acquired when he was in the administration. We're not clear as to what that is, but it would suggest that it could be national defense information. The reason that's important is that creates a heightened potential penalty. So you can have penalties that range from 5 to 20 years. 20 years tends to be the sentences for concealing information, obstructing justice. Simply having classified information can weigh in at about 10 years. And there are often multiple counts because each of those documents can be charged separately. So there is a strange history here. So you had these allegations coming out as early as the first Trump administration. Then there was an allegation that the Biden administration essentially scuttled a further look at this case. Right. And now we have this new development. But we really don't know if there's something that has occurred most recently, whether they uncovered something that they believed is sort of evergreen, that this is still a viable criminal case.
So John Bolton could be looking at between 5 and 20 years in jail. Now, before everybody gets all excited about it, I just want to be very clear. He's not going to jail for 20 years. That's just not going to happen. That would be the maximum he's going to get now. Do I think that he should be in jail for a myriad of other things, like promoting every war on planet Earth? Probably. Oh, we've got some breaking news at this moment. Hold on a minute. We're going to get back to John Bolton in a second. But it seems as though, let me get this. Yes, the Trump DOJ has released the transcripts of the Deputy Attorney General's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. Ooh. The interview were conducted at the federal prison where she's serving 20 years. On Friday, the Department of Justice released the full transcripts and audio recordings of Attorney General Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, gal pal, with Jeffrey Epstein's gal pal, Ghislaine Maxwell. The interview was conducted at the federal prison where she's spending more than 20 years. We're getting updates as these are coming in. Obviously, I can't. I would love to read them live on air. Let's see. According to the transcripts, Ghislaine Maxwell does not believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I'm not sure if I believe that either, but, that's just an opinion on her side. I guess we will get more details on that as they come out. All righty, let's go. Just in, the Department of Justice released, here we go. Here it is. Did you ever observe President Trump receiving a massage? Never. Never. Yep. That's right. Ghislaine Maxwell confirming that, Donald Trump never had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think she would know more than anyone else. Let's see. Do we have this here? Bum, bum, bum. Yes. Did you ever observe President Trump receiving a massage? Never. Did you ever observe, you said that you were, this is weird. Let's see. Is there anything else about Trump in here? No, it seems like there's not much else. Seems like there's nothing about President Trump in here whatsoever. Obviously, I'm sure people will cut up the audio recordings and, yeah, it looks like Colin Rugg has it right now. Turns out President Trump had absolutely nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. That is a refreshing thought. That is a refreshing notion. Giddy up, let's go. Giddy up, let's go. I like to hear that. But we'll break more of the Epstein stuff as it comes out. I'm monitoring all the big X pages, the people who are going through it. But let's get back to John Bolton because he's really not having a good... If you think you're not having a good day, you could be John Bolton. He's really, really, really not having a good day. Here was a further update.
Well, Wolf, we're here in Bethesda, in a residential neighborhood in Bethesda. This is the home of John Bolton. And what we've seen in the last few minutes, we've seen FBI agents come out, go into a couple of these vehicles and retrieve boxes, which they then took back into the home. Now, over the last few hours, again, they've been here for about 3 hours now, Wolf, and we've seen them come out of these vehicles, take in boxes, what appear to be document boxes, go back into the house. We haven't seen them bring anything out of it. And so, again, we don't know very much more about what this investigation is about, except that we know it is related to an investigation into the possible retention of national security information. You remember, of course, that President Trump accused John Bolton of holding on to classified information, that he revealed classified information in a 2020 book that he published on his time serving during the first term of Donald Trump. He was fired in 2019, and so we don't know whether this is related to that investigation, which was closed in the early months of the Biden administration. We don't know if it's related to that or if there is some new information that came into the FBI that has caused this latest search. Now, as you mentioned, this is one of 2 search scenes now from the FBI.
Pretty wild stuff. So we're going to continue to monitor all the breaking news on this today with the Bolton raid. Apparently they were in the house for about 8 hours before John Bolton got home. This is it's not looking good. If the FBI spends 8 hours in your house, you're probably not having a good day. It's probably not going to go well for you.
All right, we're going to get back to that in just a second, but here's live pictures of what we believe is John Bolton returning home. We had a picture of this SUV leaving his office a short time ago, and now it looks like it's made its way with about a 30-minute trip to his home, and there's the ambassador coming up, briefcase in hand, waving to the assembled media. And going inside the front door of the home, We will see. It doesn't look like it at this point. If he decides to come out and talk, I mean, John Bolton does talk to the media an awful lot, but he has chosen to remain silent at this point. Nicole Parker is with us, and Nicole, it looks as though this investigation, at least the search of Bolton's home and his office, has wrapped up. What do you expect might be in the boxes that came out at the hands of FBI agents? And
beautiful home for a lifelong public servant. I guess that's what happens when you spend your career benefiting off war. But of course, we wouldn't be this show if we didn't have a little bit of fun at the expense of Democrats. Jamie Raskin went on cable news today, and he seemed very, very worried. Very worried, in fact, that more was coming.
The top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. Thank you so much for being here. First, you are not only the ranking Democrat on Judiciary. John Bolton happens to live in your suburban D.C. in your Maryland district. What is your reaction to this search?
Well, and I, of course, support the constitutional rights of all of my constituents, Dana. And look, this episode is disturbing, and it seems to confirm Bolton's own prediction that if Donald Trump got back into office, his administration would be consumed with vengeance and retribution against his perceived political enemies. They stripped John Bolton of his security detail on the first day of the administration, I believe. They stripped him of his security clearance. He was listed on Kash Patel's so-called enemies list. And it seems as if perhaps the president was not pleased with what Bolton was saying during the course of the big summit with Vladimir Putin here in the United States in Alaska. And he was reminding everybody that Vladimir Putin had one goal, which was to capture Ukraine and reabsorb it into the newly reconstituted Russian Empire. So obviously that got on Donald Trump's nerves, and I think we can see the result of it here. At least, the information I've got, this looks like it's very much in line with the other acts of political retribution and vengeance exacted against Bolton.
Or maybe he broke the law. But I got to be honest, the best response so far of this was from CNN, who seemed like they had to, I don't know what the hell would you say it, they had to almost explain to their viewers what social media was. They had to. They were unbelievably. They were shocked that J.D. Vance would retweet the FBI director, a man who is his friend. They were very shocked at this. Listen to their bemusement at this one.
Assessing the House still on the scene right now.
Got one interesting tidbit, which is that tweet you just mentioned from FBI Director Kash Patel saying no one is above the law. FBI agents on mission. The Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, just retweeted it. So, again, this is social media sort of play-by-play here.
Yeah.
But you now have the vice president retweeting this, this statement. Again, it's not specific, but it was put out during the time of this FBI search, with now the vice president leaning in, which I imagine will only lead to more questions about the timing of this. And
the Attorney General also had retweeted with comments this morning as well.
So, political overtones.
Retweets. Can you believe it? Retweets, everybody. We're all going to die. And I love the fact that they have to explain, well, this is actually just social media banter. No, it's not. It's the internet replacing you because you're all dumbasses. So that shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. It shouldn't come as a shock to anybody to watch the media die in real time. Before we keep rocking and rolling on the John Bolton stuff, because I really like making fun of him because he's ugly and a warmonger. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out wherever it is you may be watching from. If you're watching on Facebook, do me a favor. Hit that little @ button. Tag your friends, tag your followers so that we can help grow this page, help get the message out to more and more people. So guys, do me a favor and please hit that thumbs up button, share the video out. Let's get rocking. Let's get rolling. So, but what did John Bolton really do? What did John Bolton really do? I mean, what's the crux of it? Well, if you're curious, which I'm sure many of you are, I will allow you to hear what John Bolton did to cause this raid from John Bolton himself talking about President Trump.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about...
I mean, seriously, what species is this guy? Like, I feel like if I were to go into the Men in Black, like big room, you know that big board that they had? You know that giant board they had in Men in Black that showed, like, aliens living amongst us on Earth? I feel like John Bolton would be on that board.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated the sensitivity of this information, and he didn't appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. So this had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
There's a couple of different ways that people think about this, and people who are not friendly to the president, who think about what's happened here. And one of them is, Donald Trump, master thief, criminal, running some kind of elaborate conspiracy to bring things.
That's kind of what John Bolton did himself that got himself raided. He didn't care about the sources and methods. He thought he was more important than everybody else, which is basically everyone who lives in Washington, D.C., that they think they're more important than other people. But John Bolton is in some serious trouble, my friends, and it's great to see. It's great to see. We talk about the deep state all the time. John Bolton, of course, being the head, or at least the most well-known figure in that. Look, when Trump hired John Bolton in his first term, I sat around and said, what in the sweet hell are we doing here? Why are we hiring more and more warmongers to be in this administration? I was pissed off about it then. And now that Donald Trump knows who John Bolton really is, he's sharing it with the world.
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife. When I hired him, he served a good purpose because, as you know, he was one of the people that forced Bush to do the ridiculous bombings in the Middle East. Bolton, he wants to always kill people, and he's very bad at what he does. But he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person, except on television. If he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that. But he really doesn't talk. He's quiet. And I'd walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, oh no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there. He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. I mean, we're going to find out. I know nothing about it. I just saw it this morning. They did a raid.
Do you expect the DOJ to brief you on this?
Yeah, they'll brief me probably today sometime.
And the foreign minister.
I tell Pam and I tell the group. I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer, but I feel that it's better this way.
All right. Well, Donald Trump never, ever mincing his words, never really holding back on anything that he feels at any given time. But we're going to move on from John Bolton because I don't want to talk about Timu Colonel Sanders any longer than I have to. Plus, there's a bunch of other news breaking at this hour right now. Before we get to that, here's Jeremy.
Hey everyone, sorry to barge in like this, but I do want to talk to you about this opportunity for 45% off of everyday dose coffee. And this isn't just your regular coffee, folks. If you're like me, you love your coffee routine. I've loved my coffee routine since I was probably 16 years old. Unfortunately, as I've gotten older, some of the coffee that I love doesn't love me back and does cause bloating, does cause jitters, can only drink so much a day, and there's really only so much I could do with it. Now, everyday dose is known as coffee plus benefits. And what I mean by that, folks, is A, there is an ingredients booklet in there that gives you a ton of different recipes on how to make cold brew coffees of all different kinds, lattes, different hot coffees, and more. But the greatest thing about Everyday Dose is it is known as coffee plus benefits, meaning that you're going to have 100% Arabica coffee, and you're going to also have lion's mane, chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics that keep your brain focused. No jitters, no heart palpitations, and a ton of different recipes. And you're going to get a frother, a tumbler, a box set with a bunch of different gifts in it, an ingredients booklet for recipes, coffee, and more for only $27, folks. 45% off by going to everydaydose.com/LFATV. That's everydaydose.com. LFATV. Why not expand your experiences with coffee? That's everydaydose.com/LFATV.
Guys, once again, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place, wherever it is you may be watching. So we're getting big economic news. Big economic news, not only out of the European Union, but out of Canada as well. I said it at the top of the show, the Dow Jones is booming right now. Booming right now. Life is good if you've got money in the Russell. If you got money in the Russell 2000, life is damn good for you. Absolutely right now. And why is that? Well, because it turns out that the Europeans have decided that they are going to remove all tariffs on American goods. Here is I think this is CNBC going over that.
Yeah, good morning to you, Carl. The United States and the European Union are releasing a joint statement this morning laying out more specifics around their trade agreement that was announced earlier this summer. A senior administration official briefing reporters last night called this a positive step forward, and he said the administration's goal here is to use trade agreements like this one to layer the World Trade Organization and make that international body and some others less relevant. Now, the statement says the European Union intends to eliminate tariffs on all U.S. industrial goods and to provide preferential market access for a wide range of U.S. seafood and agricultural goods. And in it, the United States commits to apply the higher of either the U.S. most favored nation tariff rate or a tariff rate of 15% on goods from the European Union. Now, one key point of contention here has been the auto industry. In the statement, the U.S. says it will reduce tariffs on European automobiles, but only after the EU formally introduces the necessary legislative proposal to enact tariff reductions itself. So it'll wait for that. A senior administration official says the hope is that process will only take weeks. We'll see. The statement also codifies that the EU intends to procure U.S. liquefied natural gas, oil, and nuclear energy products with an expected value of $750 billion through 2028, and it intends to purchase at least $40 billion worth of U.S. AI chips for its computing centers. Now, on another key note on pharmaceuticals from the EU, the agreement states that the tariff will not exceed 15%. Now, that's something that investors will be watching, as Trump has told CNBC that rates on imported pharma products could eventually be as high as 250%. So this would be much less than that. So a win for the European side on that point, guys. Back over to you.
Eamon, when we first got word of the deal, there was this notion that EU firms would invest some $600 billion in U.S. sectors by 2028. Any language this morning as to how the EU would sort of enforce that investment from the private sector over there?
Yeah, there is language in this statement around that, and it's sort of broadly put. It says in the context of the trade relationship between the two countries, they do billions of dollars, and EU firms are expected to make those purchases up to $600 billion. A senior administration official talking to reporters last night said, what the U.S. side is going to do is just monitor that and make sure that that happens. But the language there, in the statement, you can look at it yourself, maybe a little bit squishy in terms of just this expectation that those purchases will happen. U.S. officials have said that they're not that worried about it, given the size of the trade relationship between the two economies. That amount of purchases is expected to happen, sort of in due course.
So that's what I mean, like Siemens here, for example, just spending a lot of money to build a new plant or something along those lines would count. Eamon, do we kind of know what fits in?
We don't know. There's some language in there around guiding toward specific sectors. A senior administration official ticked off a couple of the sectors on a call last night. But yeah, I mean, these are individual companies inside the EU. That's not a state-run economy, as an official put it last night. So the EU can't direct companies to spend money. So the EU can't really force this to happen. All the U.S. can do is monitor it and keep their fingers crossed. And if there's any significant problem, they said they'll revisit it with the EU side.
So on pharma, I mean, this was a very close watch one because a lot of generic drugs are made in Ireland. A lot of drugs are shipped from Europe to the United States. 15% is maximum tariff. I guess in Ireland they're welcoming the clarity and saying, I guess it could have been worse, but that's still an elevated tariff rate for drugs coming in here.
It's absolutely an elevated tariff rate beyond what we had, say last year. But I think, if you're the Europeans, you look at this and you say, well, it could have been a lot worse. And And that is, President Trump's negotiating style. He puts these threats out there that are enormous and sort of terrifying for people and really rattles the cage. And that gets the attention of the trading partner. And then, they feel a little bit relieved when they get down to only 15%. But if you had said 2-3 years ago there were going to be 15% tariffs, that would have been horrifying to people on the merits.
Eamon, thank you.
You bet.
Eamon Jabbers outside the White House.
Markets continue to boom as the European Union has dropped almost all of their tariffs on the United States, but they are not the only ones. In fact, Canada has removed the 25% retaliatory tariff on the United States under the CUMA. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced on Friday that Canada will lift the retaliatory tariffs on American products starting on September 1st. A move, he said, restores free trade on most goods covered under the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement. The decision follows the United States' recent exemptions on Canadian exports, and Ottawa is responding by matching those actions. Carney said the government will keep tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles while discussing with the United States. Here was Prime Minister Carney discussing that. Let me pull this real quick. It turns out that there's actually a strategy behind these tariffs. We're getting countries to do what we want when we want. It's not just willy-nilly the way some idiots would make you believe. Here was the Prime Minister of Canada.
Has the best trade deal with the United States. And while it's different from what we had before, it is still better than that of any other country. So as we work to address outstanding trade issues with the United States, it's important, it's vital. We do everything we can to preserve this unique advantage for Canadian workers, Canadian businesses. And doing so will require both building on a soon-to-be revised CUSMA, our free trade agreement with the U.S. and Mexico, as well as developing a new form of trade and security partnership with the United States. In this context, and consistent with Canada's commitment to CUSMA, I'm announcing today that the Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA.
See, why is this important? Many people are going to say that Donald Trump caved, but that's not what he did. What he did was, by applying tariffs onto Canadian goods and then pulling them back, it looks like he's doing them a favor. Now they've removed the tariff that they already had on many of our products. Booms all throughout the economy. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. I'm liking it. I am liking it an awful, awful lot. We're going to get to the D.C. crime problem in just a minute because we've also got updates from Judge Jeanine, which are always a good time. Before we get to that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. They've been a proud supporter of this show for quite some time, so keep supporting them. Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Giddy up, let's go. So we are continuing to see successes in Washington, D.C. with the National Guard being on the ground. Of course, some Democrats, I don't understand these people. I really, truly, absolutely don't. Some idiot named Adriano Escalante Apparently he's some representative. He's very upset because President, you guys ready for this tweet? That's going to blow your mind. Check this one out. Apparently he's very upset that Donald Trump has not deployed troops to foreign countries. What, bro? I don't really understand these people, but we're beginning to see the steps being taken. We're beginning to see action actually being taken. Here was Judge Jeanine Pirro talking about it.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Jeanine. I'm here in D.C., and it is Friday, August the 22nd. Last night, 40 criminal arrests, 5 guns seized as part of the surge of President Trump's attempt to make D.C. safe and beautiful. And it brings us to a total of 719 arrests since the president decided that he was going to bring in all of our federal partners to work with the Metropolitan PD. And it brings us up to 91 guns that have been taken off the street, with the additional 5 from last night. 91 guns that cannot be used now to shoot or harm other people. The best part about all this is when you talk to the people who live in D.C., they're comfortable going to dinner, they're comfortable going for a stroll. The show of force by President Trump is making the quality of life better for the people in the district. And, you know, I want to remind you that this pretty much began with the attack on that ex-Doge person who was working at the White House, who was, as part of an attempted carjacking, pretty much beaten to a pulp. Well, I got news on that front as well. The 2 15-year-olds out of the 8 or 10 that attacked the ex-Doge staffer and his woman friend that he was with have been released from the family court, and they have been told that they are now on a curfew. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why I want jurisdiction of these cases, because as a prosecutor, it's time to prosecute these individuals so they get and understand the consequences of what they have done. In the meantime, we are now 8 days without a homicide in the district. That is pretty stunning. We have 101 homicides so far this year. And for the last 5 or 6 months, we've had at least 1 homicide a week. And we haven't had any for the last 8 days. Now, why do you think that is? Do you think that what President is doing is having a positive effect? Because I do.
Watching Judge Jeanine absolutely lay the hammer down on elected Democrats for being mad for some reason that crime is on the way down is absolutely hilarious. You know, Judge Jeanine, she's the best. She's the best. She doesn't take any crap. President Trump, of course, took a shot at the mayor of D.C., Mayor Bowser, that she better get her act together or she's going to be out.
And I'm tired of listening to these people say how safe it was before we got here. It was unsafe. It was horrible. And Mayor Bowser better get her act straight or she won't be mayor very long, because we'll take it over with the federal government, run it like it's supposed to be run. The numbers were horrible. It was a crime-infested rat hole. And they do have a lot of rats. We're getting rid of them, too. And we've made a lot of progress. And it was extremely unsafe, and now it's extremely safe. We had virtually no crime. The number was down 87%, and I'm trying to figure out where was the 13%, because I don't think it existed. The National Guard has been unbelievable, and they're working with the police. And they have some very good people in there. They have some people that shouldn't be police, actually. But they have some great people there.
She better get her act together or she is in big trouble right there. First off, I also do love the fact that President Trump is wearing a hat that says Trump was right about everything in the Oval Office. I'm sure all the ugly people on Twitter are absolutely losing their ever-loving minds over it. But Donald Trump knows exactly what's happening. And look, you talk to anybody who's studied crime, you know that the majority of the crimes are committed by the same people. It's not like, most of the murders are being done by the same people. They're not just rampant murderers out there. The people that are out there killing people usually have multiple bodies on them, and that's who they're getting off the streets. They're getting these career criminals off the street, which is what President Trump has been trying to point to this entire time.
Then the big question is, how long do we stay? Because if we stay, we want to make sure it doesn't come back. So we have to take care of these criminals and get them out of it. We've collected hundreds of career criminals. These are career criminals. You're not going to teach them to be nice. These are probably born that way. I don't know. But they're career criminals. They're very, very dangerous people. They would love to be with you for a little while and slap you around, but I put my money on this guy. He'd take them, right? He'd take them down so quickly. Like he said, he's saying, I don't want any part of it. No, people don't want to be that. And we have over 1,000 arrests. We're taking career criminals off the streets. It's my ambition that when we're complete, we can take everybody out and you have a great capital.
It's about getting those career criminals off the street, and Democrats continue to be very, very upset about all of this, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, they have to live there too. But apparently it's not good enough. So we're getting more Jeffrey Epstein updates. Look, this stuff broke just a little while ago, and now everyone on the internet is scouring through it. Ghislaine Maxwell told the DOJ that Trump was a gentleman in all respects and never did anything inappropriate, which is what we've always known. From the Maxwell transcript, that's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's. If he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define it with Epstein, I never witnessed anything. I think they were friendly like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends. I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him at his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president get in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the time that I was with him, he was a complete gentleman in all respects. Well, we'll keep you guys updated on all the Maxwell testimony as it comes in real time. This is pretty wild. Let's see. What do we got here? What do we got? Do we got more updates coming from Raw's Alerts over on... According to Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, Bill Clinton never went to Epstein Island. All righty. We're getting more and more juice as this bad boy comes out. We're getting more and more juice as it comes out. She also said that she doesn't believe Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. That's interesting. That is certainly interesting. All right, we're gonna find more. We're gonna wait for more of this stuff to come in just a second. Before we do that, here's my pillow.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to mypillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's mypillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% of everything on the website. That's mypillow.com, promo code LOUD. Fox News is now reporting on the Epstein stuff. We're going to throw over there and see what's happening there now that we have everybody and their mother diving directly into this story right now. We're starting to get more details as they come out. Let's see where here's Fox News.
But really the top line here is Maxwell never had any type of client list of Jeffrey Epstein's, did not incriminate any high-power individuals. This coming from a well-placed source who's been briefed on this investigation. We're going through that as well. And then, not to give our viewers too much information, but the Justice Department today actually handed over a bunch of Epstein-related documents to the House Oversight Committee as part of its investigation. And we know that James Comer just put out a statement, and he basically said that DOJ put out its first production of Epstein documents related to the subpoena. But that's going to take a long time before they put that out to the public, because they have to get rid of any type of incriminating information, not incriminating information, any identifying information, I should say, of potential victims, Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell victims. Martha.
Yeah, this is very interesting, David. Thank you very much. And we'll let you continue to pour through these. We're looking through these documents as we speak as well. At the very top, Todd Blanche informs her that she has immunity. However, if she lies at any time during these interviews, that she would indeed be prosecuted for that. So she's not immune from prosecution if she didn't tell the truth in these interviews. She talks a lot about her father and her upbringing and how she met Jeffrey Epstein in the early stages of this. But some of the news items that are jumping out, as David just said, that she claims that there is no client list. So, you can parse those words and see how much she reveals later on in this about all of that. She also, further on in this document, I haven't seen this part yet, but it's being reported that she says that Epstein she believes he did not die by suicide, despite the fact that every investigation that we've seen says that indeed he did. She was also asked at one point whether or not she ever saw any massage given to the current president, Trump of the United States, and she says that she never saw that, she never saw that happen, I should say. And as I say, we're still going through the document and haven't reached that specific part of it yet. But this is what's coming in. Let's bring in Jim Trusty, former federal.
So, guys, make sure you keep it locked in here. I'm sure all the guys on LFA throughout the day will be going over all the details. With that. Look, a lot more is going to break. It's 2 days worth of testimony. People are going to be getting stuff coming in and out all day long. So keep it locked in here to LFA TV for all of the updates. Keep it locked in. Give me a follow over on X, Kevin_Smith45 on X. I'll be, once we get out of here today, we'll be posting stuff all night long about it. I'm sure we'll be in Twitter Spaces talking about it and all of that good stuff. So, guys, make sure you give me a follow there over on X. That's Kevin_Smith45. Help get me to 50,000 followers, because I don't like unrounded numbers. What are you going to do? But there is also other news that I've been wanting to get to for several days. Even though Congress is out of session, some people are still down in D.C. doing testimony and doing interviews and whatnot. James Comer had a report on some Biden staffers that they brought in to discuss this ridiculous auto pen situation. Here was Chairman Comer talking about how the Biden staff lied during their testimony.
And yet no one can say for certain that Joe Biden was given the was given the orders to use the auto pen. And if you're using the auto pen to sign one document and Joe Biden's in the White House 75% of the time when the document's used, why not have Joe Biden sign the document right there? Why have to go through all the bureaucracy of using the auto pen? I mean, this was a huge interview today, and I think it contradicts everything that the former Biden people are saying with respect to the president's mental fitness. There were very few people that were around Joe Biden, especially at the end. And that's when the majority of the pardons and executive orders were signed with that auto pen. I mean, I can't say this enough. I want to say this one more time so everyone understands. Ian Sams, who was the White House spokesperson for a significant amount of Joe Biden's time as president, interacted with him two times. So, we're going to continue to bring people in. And again, this person, Ian Sams, is the one that would would counter everything Robert Hur, or anytime anyone would suggest that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit, he would say, no, he's at the top of his game. Every time he tweeted out, and several times he gave interviews on MSNBC. Every time I've interacted with the president, he was sharp. He asked great questions. In there, under oath, he interacted with the president 2 times, the entire time. The entire time he worked in the White House. That's astonishing. Any questions?
Did he tell you what those 2 times were? Like, do you know what those 2 interactions
No,
were?
he really didn't have a good memory of the 2 times he interacted with the president, which would make me think that he didn't interact with him very long. Let this sink in. Not only did Robert Hur interact longer with Joe Biden than Joe Biden's own spokesperson, I interacted more with Joe Biden than Joe Biden's spokesperson. I flew on Air Force One with Joe Biden to Kentucky when we had a tornado. I talked to him on Air Force One. Ian Sims never flew on Air Force One. Do you recall a president's spokesperson not traveling with the president when he traveled? He never went on Air Force One. I've been on Air Force One with Joe Biden.
Did he say, though, in his 2 interactions with him that the president was mentally sharp?
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, well, he had to. He said that in front of you all 100 times.
But in there, when he announced he'd only been with him twice, during those 2 times, did he describe the president as mentally sharp?
Well, he had to, absolutely, because he said that, for hours and hours and hours of press conferences and TV interviews on MSNBC and CNN.
Did you get any indication about what kind of legal advice the White House counsel, he was a spokesperson, like what the White House counsel was giving Biden as far as legal advice for using?
Well, he said that most of his talking points came from White House counsel. So, again, this is the president's spokesperson who has no communication with the president. It leads to further concern that Joe Biden was not the one calling the shots. And that's what this entire investigation is about. We went through lines in the Hur report where Hur specifically stated that the president's memory was poor, his ability was limited, and and then I went back and asked questions about the Biden investigation, the influence peddling investigation, because if you'll recall, he attacked me every day, saying that there was no evidence and all this. I said, do you stand by that? And he never would answer the question. I said, were you surprised that Joe Biden pardoned his entire family? And he said he was surprised. I said, is that an admission of guilt? So he pardoned the spouses. The only place in the world the spouses were ever mentioned was in our final report. And he pardoned the entire family. It is his last act as president. And I think that everyone in America knows that was an admission of guilt. So, again, I think this is explosive. When you all read the transcript, I think you will agree. This was the White House spokesperson. It just pours fuel on the fire that Joe Biden was.
So you're listening live there to Oversight Committee Chairman in the House, James Comer, who stepped out.
So the Biden auto pen scandal and the fact that he was basically retarded for his entire presidency continues. Good thing James Comer is on that. I wish some of this stuff was out in the open, out in public, but we'll take what we can get. Oh, real quick. For everyone living in Maryland, or Tennessee or Texas, I'm not really sure because he's a human smuggler. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has just been released from prison. Here was the live coverage of that.
Release brings some relief. We all know that he is far from safe. ICE detention or deportation to an unknown third country still threaten to tear his family apart. A measure of justice has been done, but the government must stop pursuing actions that would once again separate his family. Abrego Garcia's case became a flashpoint here in President Trump's immigration agenda after he was mistakenly deported in March. Facing a court order, the Trump administration brought him back to the U.S. in June, only to detain him on criminal charges. Although Abrego Garcia was deemed eligible for a pretrial release, he had remained in jail at the request of his attorneys, who were considered the administration could try to immediately deport. They were concerned, that the administration could try to immediately deport him again if he were freed. Earlier this week, Abrego Garcia's criminal attorneys filed a motion asking the judge to dismiss the criminal case, claiming he is being prosecuted to punish him for challenging his removal to El Salvador. Abrego Garcia has pleaded not guilty to those smuggling charges, which stem from a 2022 traffic stop in Tennessee for speeding. Body camera footage from a Tennessee highway patrol officer shows an exchange with Abrego Garcia. There were 9 passengers in that car, and the officers discussed among themselves their suspicions of smuggling. However, Abrego Garcia was allowed to continue driving with only a warning. A Department of Homeland Security agent testified he did not begin investigating the traffic stop until this April, when the government was facing pressure to return Abrego Garcia to the U.S. He had been held at a jail facility in Putnam County, and he has an American wife and children, and he's lived in Maryland for 10 years. So once again, I did want to bring you this breaking news here, as we are alerting here that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been released from jail in Tennessee today so he can rejoin his family in Maryland while awaiting trial on human smuggling charges. And you are taking a live look right now.
Hey, so everybody in Maryland just got a lot less safe. That's nice. Good to know this is what we're doing here. Good to know that's what we're doing here. Yeah, we are apparently awaiting for him to be officially released. That's phenomenal stuff, guys. Guys, it's 4 o'clock. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I hope everybody has a phenomenal weekend. I will catch you guys back live on Monday. Everyone be safe. As summer wanes, as summer comes to a close, enjoy your last couple weeks of summer. Also, this Sunday, I'll be at the Wisconsin Street Fair doing voter registration. If you guys want to come on down and lend a hand, we're always looking for help there. I will catch you guys on... catch you guys on Monday, I guess. Pete Santilli coming up next. Until then, everybody, stay loud.